Hey guys, I'm Dāv Kaufman. So every time you guys comment below or message me on Facebook or give an episode suggestion, I read every single one of them and I try to respond to as many as I can, so keep those suggestions coming. And one of the top suggestions for an episode was to do a monitor episode. So I came down here to San Diego and I'm about to go meet with Jeff Lemm and check out his incredible monitor facility. And not only does he do a lot of monitors, but he's also a field herper, and I have never heard of somebody finding so many morphs in the wild, so I'm going to check that out too. So come along as we check out Jeff Lemm's incredible monitor facility here in San Diego on Zilla Presents HerpersTV, the Reptile Channel.
I'm a herper, herper. I'm a herper, I'm a herper, and I like it.
So my name is Jeff Lemm. I'm a herpetologist. I work in zoo-based conservation and research. I've been in that industry for about the last 25 years. I have all kinds of likes and loves, everything from small amphibians to Komodo dragons. I've worked with a lot of them in the field and in captivity. I do keep and breed some herps at home. My true love is field herping, and as you can see behind me, I do xeriscape. Cactus and succulents are another big love of mine. Probably my greatest love, other than field herping with captive animals, are monitor lizards. Welcome to my humble herp room. So as I said, I don't keep a lot like I used to. I only keep a few snakes and a handful of monitors these days. One of the first species is kind of a species I've always kept, and I wrote a lot of articles about, are Ackies. And the word Ackie is an Australian nickname. Comes from Acanthurus, which is the specific name for the spiny tail monitor. You'll also hear people talk about red Ackies, and they were thought to be different subspecies, but just recently a paper came out showing they are the same thing. So all the mainland Ackies are the same species as of right now. There are both red ones and yellow ones in the US. There have been for many years. I first started breeding these guys in the mid-90s or even early 90s. For monitors, they're one of the easier ones to breed if you know what you're doing. And I prefer the yellow Ackies over the red Ackies. Even though they're the same species, red Ackies are kind of more found in the top end. They do get bigger and they are a lot prettier color. But reds to me are just more flighty, and they're more prone to bite than the yellow ones. So a lot of times you'll hear people call Ackies ridgetail monitors. That's actually incorrect. The ridgetail monitor refers to the Storrs monitor, Verandas storii. The spiny tail monitor is Acanthurus. And what I really like seeing in the wild is when you're looking for Ackies, you'll find these guys, when they're in burrows, you'll see their tails at the edge of the burrow and their tails bent like that. So any predator that comes into the burrow, they just run into that big spiny tail. There's also two females in here, but they've kind of hidden. I'm starting kind of a slight cool down for the winter. So it is December. It's not as warm in here as it normally would be, and I do that on purpose. I turn their heat pad off. I breed all small species of monitors, Odatria monitors as we like to call them. I kind of do them all pretty similar. There's just a few main points that you need to know about keeping monitors, especially if you want to breed them and keep them healthy. They like a lot of soil. They're kind of like they're like wombats. They're constantly burrowing and digging, especially the Ackies. So they like a lot of soil, and that makes nesting easier. Nesting is extremely important for monitor lizards. Even if a female has fertile eggs and she doesn't like her nest, those eggs aren't going to hatch. So I just start with about 2 feet of dirt, 2 to 3 feet depending on the species. They like to get really, really hot. The ground temperature in Australia on a hot sunny day, you touch those rocks and the surface temperature of those rocks can be upwards of 250 to 300 degrees, and they'll be out basking on them. So you can see how close my light is to their basking platform. So the surface temperature of that basking platform right now is about 140, 150 degrees, and they love it. They'll bask in it all day. But then you'll see I also have a stack, and that was made famous by Frank Reedus. We used to call him the Reedus stack back in the 90s, and it was ingenious. It's very simple, but good job, Frank. But very simple but ingenious. So they can thermoregulate in that stack however close they want to be to that light, and they could reach a number of different temperatures. So it works really well. It's simple and it's easy to clean. So another species I'm keeping, which is kind of newer to the US anyways. They've been here for 3 or 4 years. I got these from a friend who bred them in New York. This is a Verandas primordius. This is the northern blunt-spined monitor. I believe these are all males, unfortunately. So they are quite a bit smaller than Ackies. They don't get nearly as large as Ackies, but this guy is not full grown. He's breeding age, he's breeding size, but he's not full grown. He'll get a little bigger than this. You notice these guys are actually in an aquarium or terrarium. That was kind of more that I ran out of tubs. But I don't generally keep my monitors in aquariums. One, I can't get as much substrate in there as I'd like to. Once these guys breed, you know, I'll need the dirt at least that deep for them. The other thing is all these things come with screen lids. And with a monitor that needs to stay really humid, in Southern California, this will dry them right out. So you see I've put all this plastic instead of screen on there. And they seem to be doing great. They're growing like weeds, and if I can find a female, hopefully we'll start breeding these guys. So this is about my favorite monitor in the world. My big boy out here. He's sitting right here watching us. So this is the Kimberly rock monitor. This is Verandas glauerti, or the Glauert's monitor from Northern Australia. You can see this big boy here. Hi buddy. Just one of the most beautiful, most elegant monitors in the world. And he's even letting a cricket ride on his neck. That's how nice he is. They have that long tail, they have that really flat head. So a lot of these small monitors are lizard specialists in the wild. So these guys are made for dragging geckos and skinks out of rock cracks. Most of these monitors tend to start breeding in the spring, around April, May. And they can multi-clutch. You know, I get anywhere from 4 to 8 clutches out of a female a year on a lot of these monitors. These are baby Kimberly rock monitors. They hatched about 2 weeks ago. And you can see they're kind of in a weird little glass aquarium. And that's because these guys get out of anything I put them in except for this. So I keep these baby Kims in these little glass terrariums for about their first 2 months of life. And then I move them up to a larger tub style cage. Now you can see how skinny and small they are when they hatch. So you can see how small that head is. They get out of an awful lot of different types of enclosures. You can see those are pretty big crickets in there with them. They actually prefer the larger food. If you put smaller crickets in, they don't eat it very often. These guys like the bigger stuff. This is the Pilbara rock monitor. Very similar to the Kimberly rock monitor. Not as many people breeding these ones. Actually, not many people breeding Kimberly rock monitors, but these ones even fewer people. I only have one male. I'm hopefully getting a female here pretty quick. But same thing, they all kind of do the same in the same setups. They all do really well. They each have their own little quirky things you have to get used to. Pilbaras, males aren't as shy as females, just like the Kimberly rocks, but they are fairly shy either way. You know, they like to hide a lot, but you know, on other days he'll come out and eat right out of your hand. So you just never know which monitor you're gonna get on which day. The last species I'm working with now are the King's Pygmy monitors. Verandas King Gorham. This is a full-grown adult male. You can see they are very tiny. This is the white form, or you know, some people call them leucistic, some call them albino. I just call them white, but that's a full-grown adult male. Yeah, so with monitors, especially these small monitors, you have to make sure you have really secure cages. You know, monitors are one of the most intelligent of the reptiles. Monitors and crocodilians are really, really intelligent, and they can figure things out, and you can see them figuring things out. So they can escape really easy from a lot of these enclosures. Okay, so if you're keeping your monitors correctly, you're not going to stop them from breeding. They'll just breed all the time during their breeding period, which is like 4 to 6 months of the year in the warmer period of the year. Then they'll nest way down deep in the soil, so you'll be digging a lot. It's usually pretty easy to tell when a female lays. But for incubation, I hear people have all kinds of problems incubating monitor eggs, and that their animals die full term or, you know, halfway through. We don't have a single issue, and that's because, you know, we don't get them too wet, especially near the end of incubation. Most small monitors hatch around 100 days of incubation at around 85, 86 degrees. So this is my setup. I made it myself out of an old cooler. I have heat tape on a thermostat, and this is one of my egg boxes. These are the sim containers. and this is one of the nicest things that has ever worked for me for breeding monitors. So it's the suspended incubation method. These are Kimberly rock monitor eggs. They're about to hatch. We're about a week away from hatching. There are a couple infertile ones in there, but I don't worry about it. I just leave them there. It doesn't hurt them. I just put a little bit of water on the bottom. They're suspended above the water. I keep a pinhole in the top just to equilibrate the pressure, because I have popped eggs. When you get you close a chamber and then you heat it, that's pressurizing it. So people have experienced popping eggs a lot of times, and I did it once. I said I'm never doing that again. So I keep a little pinhole on the top of this, and then when I do ventilate my eggs, which I do maybe once every 3 weeks, I slowly open that top, and then I vent them out that way. So near the last 2 weeks of incubation, I vent them maybe every 3 to 4 days, and then near the last week of incubation, I vent them every couple days, and it just gets a good air exchange going. But these sim containers just work wonders. I mean, our hatching is of all the good eggs we get, we're close to 100% every single time. Monitor lizards are one of my favorite things on earth, and a lot of people always ask me, how did you start with monitors? Not only was it from seeing Komodo dragons in the early days at the zoo, but when I got my research gig in conservation and research, one of my first projects was with monitor lizards. And it kind of fit right in, because I'd kept some of the monitors you could get in the pet trade. I had Savannas and Niles, and I had a giant ornate monitor that was like 7'6", and so I'd always kept monitors. And then so professionally I started working with monitors. So I worked with white-throated monitors. I did a diet study on Komodo dragons. So that kind of spurred me on to go, where can I see as many monitors and focus on monitors and photograph as many wild monitors as I could. So obviously it was Australia. So it just happened to be that I would be doing some research in Australia with some of the zoos there. And pretty soon I was able to photograph almost every wild species of monitor in Australia. And during this whole time, even before I moved there, and then when I came back from Australia and moved back to Southern California, I had always kept monitors. And so now I do breed some, not as many as I used to, because I'd rather be in the field, but I do keep and breed some animals, to educate myself, educate my kids, and just have a good time. So I do keep a couple snakes still. It's mostly some mutants that I've found personally in Southern California. The first one, he's right here, he's just got his head out. This is an albino desert glossy snake that I found about 8 years ago. The only one I've ever heard of. Like a gopher snake that's actually nice. Now this guy's in San Diego County. It was in July. He was the only snake on the road all night. I passed him. I actually looked at him, and he was getting off the road. I'm just a glossy snake. I'll keep going. And then I went about a quarter mile. I said, that one kind of looked weird. I should go back and look. There's nothing else moving. So I looked, and he was sitting on the shoulder, and I walked over and I picked him up. And it was such a dark night I couldn't tell from my light what color he was. I stuck him under the light of my truck. I went, wow, that's an albino glossy snake. So this is another interesting San Diego County mutant. So this is a long-nosed snake, but it's a white-sided long-nosed snake. And then my final mutant, I found this guy about 6 years ago. Again, the only snake of the night. Hot as can be. And this little tiny thing ripped across the street right in front of us. Almost missed it. This is an albino Colorado desert shovelnose snake. And these little shovels do great on crickets, and they love scorpions. They are rear-fanged, so they do dine on scorpions, but one of the prettiest albino snakes I think I've ever seen.
So doesn't that make you want to work with Kimberly rock monitors? I think those are the first ones that I've actually seen in person. I'll have to think about that a little bit, but man, were those incredible. So thanks to Jeff for inviting me down here to San Diego to film this episode for you guys. I'm going to be down here for a while filming all fan requested episodes. So I've got a boa episode coming and a retic episode coming. So hit that subscribe button, leave a comment below. If you like this video, hit that like button, and we'll see you next time on Zilla Presents HerpersTV, the Reptile Channel.